overcast 61 degrees Sunday night in the New York, New Jersey metropolitan area. We welcome you to Continental Airlines Arena. The crowd is still making its way in as we get ready for Game 3 of this best-of-7 Eastern Conference semifinal. The Detroit Pistons going against the New Jersey Nets. Happy Mother's Day from all of us here at TNT as the scene shifts from the Motor City to the New Jersey Meadowlands. Hi, everybody. I'm Marv Albert, along with the Czar, Mike Fratello, Steve Kerr with us. Dee Lynam is with us. She'll be joining us in just a moment. Well, for the Nets, down 2-0 to the Pistons, it is a daunting task. In the history of the NBA playoffs, a team has come back from a 2-0 deficit in a best-of-7 only 7 times. That's 7 out of 170 scenarios. In effect, the Nets have to win 4 of the next 5 over a very strong Detroit team. And Czar, if they are to turn it here tonight, they cannot be dominated in the backcourt that way they were by the Pistons in Game 2 at the Palace on Friday night.
A year ago, when the Nets swept the Pistons out of the playoffs, they were led by their backcourt of Jason Kidd and Kerry Kittles. Well, that same backcourt this year, looking for the answers, trying to solve the puzzle of the Detroit backcourt. Clearly having been outplayed thus far in games number 1 and 2, when you look at the numbers, lopsided in favor of Hamilton and Billups. And as bad as those numbers look, it was complete domination by the Pistons against the Nets in game number 2. 56-14 as far as scoring, 55% shooting to just 23 for the Nets backcourt. The Nets backcourt just 2 for 4 from the foul line, while the Piston backcourt went 17 and 18. Clearly to me, this is an injured Jason Kidd. He will not admit it, but to me, this is not the same speed he plays at, not the same shooting. His legs just aren't there. And a year ago, it was an injured Chauncey Billups. He's healthy right now.
Now, Steve, aside from the disparity in the backcourt for Detroit, it has been the combination up front of Ben Wallace and Rasheed Wallace that have made things very difficult for New Jersey.
Well, that's right, Marv. After having their way offensively in round 1 in their sweep over New York, the Nets have been completely shut down by Detroit here in the conference semifinals. The numbers through 2 games are absolutely atrocious. You see New Jersey shooting just 35%, scoring only 68 points per game, thanks in large part to the defense of the 2 Wallaces. They've combined for 11 blocks so far in this series, and their combination of speed, strength, and range has made life miserable for New Jersey. I think if they're going to win this game tonight, they've got to get out in the open floor, force some turnovers, and score at the rim. That's easier said than done when you've got Rasheed Wallace and Ben Wallace back there protecting the basket.
All right, both clubs are getting ready. Coming up in a moment, it's Game 3 of this best of 7. The Nets looking to get back into it. The Pistons hoping to extend to a 3-0 lead.
The 2004 NBA Western Conference Finals, only on TNT.
Southwest game breaker Ernie Johnson back there in Studio A. In case you're just now checking in, you're saying, what happened in that Laker game? Well, they closed the gap to 2-1, beating San Antonio today. Shaq went for 28 and 15, hitting 11 out of 13 from the field. And it was the Lakers 105-81, snapping the Spurs' 17-game winning streak. They had not lost since March 23rd at Minnesota. But now that series is 2-1. Tomorrow night here on TNT, the Pacers and the Heat playing Game 3 in Miami. The Timberwolves and the Kings Game 3 in a 1-1 series in Sacramento. And Tuesday night, Game 4 of the Pistons-Nets series, followed by Game 4 between the Spurs and the Lakers. San Antonio up 2-1. We'll take it back to Jersey for the tip after this.
Welcome back to the New Jersey Meadowlands. That of the 19,000 on hand for game number 3 as we check out a look at tonight's McDonald's starting lineups. First, for the visiting Detroit Pistons, Chauncey Billups, Rip Hamilton in the backcourt. Czar talked about their dominance in game 2 just a moment ago. Tayshaun Prince up front with Ben Wallace and Rasheed Wallace. And for the Nets, Jason Kidd, who has been struggling, has not gotten much lift on that jumper. He's averaged only 8.5 points, only 7 of 26 from the field. over his first two games. Kidd and Kittles at the guards. Kenyon Martin, Jason Collins, and Richard Jefferson up front. Jefferson did bounce back from the poor shooting in game one and had 19 points in game two. Detroit has won by 22 and by 15. We are just moments away from game number 3, and obviously a must game for New Jersey.
Well, we've heard Jason Kidd say that he's not injured, he's not hurt, but there is no way that Jason Kidd shoots 27% from the floor, 1 for 2 from the foul line after 2 games. That's not just Jason Kidd. I think he's trying to be the team leader. He's trying to gut his way through it, but this guy is injured, Mark.
He has already said he will most likely pass on the Olympics this summer, partly because of the knee, which could require surgery in the offseason. Kenny Martin revving up the crowd. The officials are Bennett Salvatore, Ron Garrison, and Ken Mauer.
Now they're going to need this crowd because I think game 2 was particularly demoralizing for the Nets. They did everything they needed to do in the first half, got the ball into Martin, created some turnovers and open floor opportunities, but Detroit just squeezed them off defensively in the second half.
Kidd being played by Billups and fires it out to Jefferson. Here's Jefferson. Richard Jefferson, 1 for 12 from the field in game 1 at the Palace, a game the Nets would like to forget about, scoring just 56 points. That's 2 points away from an NBA playoff low since the inception of the shot clock. Foul is called on Kidd.
And that's key right there, because remember, Jason Kidd has to be on the floor for the Nets 42, 44 minutes tonight if they're going to have a chance. And what's happened is there's been an adjustment in the defensive assignments. Lawrence Frank has put Kittles on Billups, and he's got Kidd chasing Hamilton around the screens. Kidd picks up an early foul.
Rasheed Wallace with the off-balance attempt. Martin feeling for the defender, Rasheed Wallace. He was anticipating contact.
Well, that's the question mark with Martin. Can he score down on the block? He's really more a guy who wants to face up.
Martin able to reach in for the steal. Here comes Jefferson. Martin with the reverse. Yes, and it counts. Foul on Rasheed Wallace.
Probably best scenarios, this is it for New Jersey. Getting this guy off in the game early on. Kenyon Martin is a key element here against the Pistons. He has to show up and have a huge game tonight against that Piston front line.
The other day, Kenyon Martin said he's upset because he feels the Pistons are playing harder than the Nets. So not that we're not playing hard, but they're playing harder. And Martin with a three-point play.
Kind of rare to hear a player say that, especially after game 2 when I thought New Jersey played pretty hard themselves. They just couldn't get anything to go in the second half, and obviously a lot of the credit has to go to Detroit, which had the #1 ranked defense in the NBA this season.
Hamilton trying to put a move on Kidd. Swings away. Rebounded by Martin. Jefferson working down low, and a foul on Prince.
So much in a playoff game is determined early on as far as how the officials are going to call the game. And this is that period of time, and Steve, you know firsthand, where the players have to make the mental adjustment of just how physical you can be.
Well, and I think you mentioned the matchup with Kittles guarding Chauncey Billups. Remember, the Nets did that a year ago against Tony Parker as we see Kidd miss the 3. Tony Parker was really having his way with Jason Kidd the first 2 games of the finals. The Nets decided to put Kittles on. He did a nice job in game 3. So he's got some experience with guarding point guards and cutting off penetration.
Now Billups played by Kittles. Rasheed Wallace from downtown. And Kidd on the run. Fighting up, going at Rasheed Wallace and a foul. That is number 2 on Rasheed.
Exactly what New Jersey wants to do. Long rebound leads to a fast break, and nobody does it better than Jason Kidd, who feeds Martin on the run. And when you can get Martin in a fast break situation, he's as good as any big man in the league at getting to the rim, and that's a big foul, too, on Rasheed.
It isn't Rasheed interacting with the crowd right now. Larry Brown going to go to his bench and bring in Okor, try and protect Rasheed Wallace here by getting out of the game. He's trying to get the crowd pumped up even more. He says, yeah, it's okay, make it louder, I'm fine, we're fine.
That's a sarcastic pump-up move. Rasheed was on the edge in game 2 on Friday night. And now the early departure after picking up a second foul. The Nets here at the start are playing their style of basketball.
Boy, this crowd is just feeding off of that. I haven't heard this place this loud in a long time. Either that or my headset has some problems. I'm not sure.
I think it's a combination. Here's Hamilton. Rejected by Martin. Wallace on the follow. The Pistons wanted a goaltend. They did not get the call. And very quickly, the Nets get to the front court.
And Larry Brown up right away on the officials after that block shot. We see the steal by Hamilton as Detroit comes right back in transition itself. Larry Brown protecting his turf down there, letting him know that we want the call.
Brent's coming up short. And Detroit struggling here at the start. 1 of 6 from the field. Jefferson for Collins. Jefferson on the follow. And the Nets now lead it 9-2.
You can see the aggressiveness of the Nets. Jefferson with really a 2-on-3, but he decides to take it to the rim anyway. Ends up in a wide-open tip for him.
Well, Tayshaun Prince got hit in the face with an elbow. He's struggling coming up the floor right there, but we'll watch the missed shot by Collins, but then the offensive rebound and follow by Jefferson with the lefty lay-in.
The 2004 NBA playoffs on TNT are being brought to you by Rocky Mountain Cold, Coors Light, cold, down easy. By Hyundai, visit NBA.com and enter to win a new Hyundai Santa Fe. By Verizon Wireless, sign up for America's Choice Family Share Plan. Verizon Wireless, they never stop working for you. And by Adidas, impossible is nothing. Well, Larry Brown stirring things up the other day. Larry has been upset with a high number of head coach firings in the NBA the past 2 years. And on Friday in the New York Times, he criticized the Nets' decision to replace Byron Scott, a former player and protege of his on the Pacers with Lawrence Frank. He said, I admire what the kid's done, referring to Lawrence Frank. Just have a hard time because of my relationship with Byron. All of a sudden say, hey, look, anybody can coach. They're basically saying that, and then Rod Thorne, the president of the New Jersey Nets, said, I think that's totally off base, and coming from him, his past, the things he's done, he has no idea what's going on with our team.
No, strong words. I think where Larry went wrong was saying that you can basically hire anybody to coach, because that sort of implies that Lawrence Frank is not qualified. And he came in and did a nice job. He's certainly paid some dues here in the NBA as an assistant and at the college level. So I think Larry went a little overboard with that last part of the comment.
Yeah, and talking to Larry, the mistake, as you said, just those words of saying anybody can coach. The block shot, Nets off on the fast break. Out in transition once again. Kittles with the layup.
Those good calls are.
Thank you very much.
Well done.
You should do play-by-play.
Going back to Larry, it was not directed at Lawrence Frank. If he could have erased those words, it makes it look like anybody can coach. He probably would take those out. He just doesn't like the idea the way coaches are being released so quickly. And he is defending Byron Scott, who he has a very close relationship with.
Kittles gives it up to Jefferson, and he is fouled. He was held, and the Nets with an 11-2 lead as Richard Jefferson heads to the line. Phillips on the foul. The Pistons just 1 of 7 from the field here at the start.
You know, a year ago we played the Nets in the finals. We practiced against 7 players in the scout team to try to simulate the barrage that they come with in that fast break, and that's what it's like sometimes. You see them right now, the energy they're playing with, getting out in this fast break. It almost looks like it's 7 on 5 the way they're playing.
And Mike, we did not see that at all in game 1. The Nets did put on that barrage time to time in game 2. In fact, they played solid in the first half, and Detroit turned it with that 27-11 advantage in the third quarter.
Well, they got it going, as you said, in the first half of game number 2. O'Connor with the post move misses on that one. And the rest of the time, Marv, if Detroit is shooting 54% from the floor, it's tough to get out and run your fast break. Right now, with Detroit shooting under 13%, a little easier.
Big shot was deflected. Collins with the rebound. Another possession for New Jersey. Here's Kidd with the head fake. And back comes Billups. Detroit with 10 possessions, only 2 points to show for it. Down 13-2 here at the start. And the Meadow core has come on early for Rasheed Wallace, who's sitting down with 2 personal fouls. There's Martin spinning his way, gives it up. Collins. Jason Collins with a couple of excellent opportunities and way off.
Well, it had the distance. I think it drifted left a little bit.
Drifted? Okay.
Meanwhile, the Pistons cannot buy a bucket. Here comes Kittles, 2-on-1. Nice return by Jefferson.
I don't know if there are 2 faster wings in the league on the fast break than Richard Jefferson and Kerry Kittles.
We've played 5.5 minutes of the game, and right now it's 11-0 in fast break points in favor of New Jersey.
Chant of defense from this crowd. And Wallace, that's not the shot that Detroit is looking for. Kittles for 3. Ben Wallace actually hit 3 jump shots the other day at the Palace. When he was asked about it, he said, I'm an offensive juggernaut. Defense is something I do in my spare time.
Got a sense of humor, too.
Lawrence Frank telling us, though, we'll do a better job of contesting Ben Wallace. He was unhappy that he had the open shots.
If they're going to try and take away the post-ups of Rasheed Wallace by fronting him, they've got to do something up. And that's something. And there's the foul as Prince fakes and goes by and is landed on that time in the right-hand corner by Richard Jefferson. You've got to give something up so you can help on the lob pass. What they're willing to live and die with is the fact that Ben Wallace may wind up getting some 17-foot jumpers. He made 3 in that second half last game.
Pistons 1 of 11 from the field. Just under 6 to go in this first quarter. Now Ben Wallace on the run, and Collins got a piece of it. So Ben Wallace with all 4 Detroit points.
How about the left hand? The little scoop? He's right. He does play defense in his spare time.
Collins played tightly by O'Connor. Martin. Yes. Kenyon Martin with a strong first quarter. He has 7 points.
First 2 games what Detroit has done is play Richard Jefferson tight when he steps out to the perimeter. Kenyon Martin, Collins, they will get their shots until they start making enough for them to force the Pistons to move up in pressure.
Sean Prince setting up against Richard Jefferson. Now O'Connor posting, and he's fouled. He's hit on the reach-in. 13 foul on the Nets. It's on Martin. That's his first.
Well, the talk this entire series so far has been about Detroit's defense as we see the technical on Larry Brown. But how about New Jersey's defense tonight so far? And of course, during the regular season, they were 4th in the league in points allowed, 5th in opponent's field goal percentage. So this is some defense that New Jersey has as well.
Larry's been upset with the officiating here at the start. Ken Mauer teed him up.
I guess Larry may be feeling that O'Connor was on his way up and should have been awarded 2 free throw opportunities on that foul. Instead, they're being given the ball out on the side. That's what Larry, I think, was upset about.
Larry Brown shielded by his assistant coaches, Mike Woodson and John Kuster. They did not want to see Larry pick up a second, which would have meant very early departure. Good defense by the Nets. Billups forced into a difficult shot.
Now, Larry was also trying to set the tone a little bit here. His team down early, trying to weather the storm. He wants to let the officials know right away that they've got to keep New Jersey in this game, or excuse me, keep the Pistons in this game and not let it get out of hand.
Eldon Campbell, who just checked in, was hit from behind by Kenyon Martin. That's 2 on Martin.
So just like Rasheed Wallace picks up 2 quick ones, Martin lasts a little bit longer, but it's a second one for Kenyon Martin. He will have to be very smart now on the floor, what he does defensively.
And of course, Detroit with better depth than New Jersey. I think foul trouble would hurt the Nets more than the Pistons.
Foul on Collins. So the Nets in the penalty, and Eldon Campbell, who did not see action against the Milwaukee Bucks in that opening round series, has been getting minutes off the bench first 3 games against the Nets.
Well, if we go back to the last game, both head coaches got technical fouls. So Larry Brown picks one up here early. Does Lawrence Frank have to counter now to balance this thing out? Must he take one? Don't the officials know what's going on?
Kenyon Martin hearing it from the crowd as he sits down. 7 points, 5 rebounds, and a block shot. Rodney Rogers coming on for Martin. Collins with the rebound. Rogers shot the ball well in game 2. 5 of 8 from the field. He had 11 points. Kidd using the pick from Rogers. Finds himself open and scores. And that again gets the crowd going because they love to see Jason Kidd break out at the offensive end.
It's so important for him to knock down that jumper in the half court. You know New Jersey can score in the transition game, but where they have trouble is in the half court. If he's hitting, it makes life a lot easier for Lawrence Frank.
Campbell, good play by Collins. Here comes Jefferson. Pistons get back. Kittles from downtown. Now Hamilton looks to break out, but the Nets get back. Hamilton. So the Pistons with only their 3rd field goal. They're 3 of 15 here at the start. The Nets now lead it 20-7. Kidd sets it up to Jefferson. Kidd on a quick release for 3.
Looks like New Jersey is trying to be so aggressive that they're rushing their perimeter shots a little bit. Kittle's already with 2 quick ones. Jason Kidd probably didn't have to shoot that so quickly, too.
Collins coming over to help out on Prince. Tayshaun Prince, you recall, had the outstanding game 1 and game 2 on Friday, 0 for 8 from the field, but did have 8 rebounds. Tayshaun Prince severely outplayed in the playoff series last year by Richard Jefferson, and has turned things around in the postseason once again this season.
He's played well, and the great thing about winning is you just said in game 2, yeah, he went 0 for 8, but he did some other things. If you lose, you never talk about the other things. I mean, if they had lost, everybody would be saying, hey, he went 0 for 8, he struggled, but you know, when you win, everything looks good. Hey, sure he went 0 for 8. He had 8 rebounds.
You know, I think we also need to give some credit, though, to the guys who wound up believing in Tayshaun Prince and knowing how good they felt he was going to be, because of him, they passed up on Carmelo Anthony, which was a very controversial topic when they took, Milicic instead. But Joe Dumars, John Hammond, coaching staff obviously felt we've got something here pretty good. If we just play him, he'll show him.
Foul on Lindsey Hunter, who had just checked in. Steve, I was wondering if that sentence was going to ever end. It was a long, long point. The Nets jumping on the Pistons here at the start, and they had done it with their normal style of basketball.
It starts with the rebound. Kenyon Martin already has 5 in this game before he went to the bench with 2 fouls. But Martin knows who to look for. Kidd, who knows where his teammate Kittles is. Middle to side for the layup. And we see Richard Jefferson trying to get his big man involved. Kenyon Martin with the layup. And again, rebound, outlet. And watch this. Give it up, but get it right back again. The finish by Kerry Kittles. The numbers right now, 11-2 fast break points in favor of the Nets.
So Jason Kidd sits down, replaced by Lucius Harris. Richard Jefferson, a 76% free throw shooter, averaged 18.5 points during the regular season. And he was coming on last year, but he is a rising star. Had a terrific third NBA campaign.
And really closed the season well with Jason Kidd and Kenyon Martin on the bench. Took over most of his scoring load for the Nets, and he's really gotten much more comfortable with his outside shot. It's completed his game this year.
Just under 3 remaining in the first, and the Nets with a 22-9 lead. Hunter and Hamilton in the backcourt. Campbell now up front with Ben Wallace and Darvin Ham. Shot clock down to 5. Detroit having difficulty locating shots, and Hunter boots it out of bounds. Last touch by Collins.
Tough play to officiate there. It happened so quickly. Alonzo's a little upset about it, I know, but Kenny Maurer was right there in the corner. He made the call.
Hamilton played by Harris. Darvin Ham.
Marv, I think this is an important stretch here for New Jersey. Anytime Jason Kidd is on the bench, the Pistons will do their best to pressure the backcourt, try to force some turnovers. New Jersey has struggled in this situation before without Kidd on the floor.
Foul by Ben Wallace. Detroit and the penalty. 2 shots for Rogers. He is a 77% free throw shooter. That's 8 for 8 at the line. Well, you can get an all-access look at the NBA playoffs. Tune into the NBA TV playoff show Destination Finals. Every weeknight, 6 o'clock on NBA TV.
And Ben Wallace has such great hands. During the regular season, he averages almost 2 steals per game. That's a big number for a big man up front of center. But that time it cost his team because of the bonus situation.
Just under 2 minutes remaining in the first. Wallace Williamson getting set to come on. Here is that offensive juggernaut, Ben Wallace, who is now 3 of 4 from the field.
Larry Brown at the beginning of the season said, I want you to shoot. I want you to be more offensive-minded, be a threat down there. Reminds me a little bit of Dennis Rodman when he went to the Bulls. Phil Jackson said, I want you to shoot, just at least be a factor, and I think it helps.
Dennis shot the 3 pretty well over there. Rogers gets inside. He is fouled.
We saw it take place that time because of the pressure in the backcourt by Detroit. They gave the ball to Richard Jefferson. They let him bring the ball down the floor against Ham. But as soon as he got up over the half court, Detroit jumped him. They wound up with the guard, Hamilton, playing him. A little more pressure, but he did a decent job. Bailed the Nets out that time.
I think it's good strategy by Lawrence Frank because you take advantage of the matchup of Jefferson and Corliss Williamson, who will be guarding him now, but you take Lindsey Hunter out of the equation. I think he's the best in the league at pressuring the ball in the backcourt. You just don't even bother with him. Get him out of there, let somebody else bring the ball up the floor.
Aaron Williams has come on for the first time.
It's kind of like cornerback football defense. You like don't throw in his area. Is that what you're saying? Stay away from Lindsey Hunter.
He takes away that side of the court.
Let somebody else bring it down, but not his guy.
There's Williamson with his first attempt. So Ben Wallace has hit 3 of 4 for the field. The rest of the Pistons 1 for 14. And Williamson did not expect that to come in his direction. It's the last touch by Corliss.
Rogers trying to explain to Kerry Kittles, I did want to pass it to you, but I kind of lost control of it.
Final minute of the first quarter. Aaron Williams gets it inside to Lucius Harris, rejected by Eldon Campbell. Shot clock down at 3, down at 2. Here is Rogers firing one, and it's off the mark. 24-second violation.
Well, if Rogers had been a little more aware of the shot clock situation, he probably had a better look at that three-pointer with about 5 seconds left in that shot clock. But unaware, he was forced into taking that fadeaway 28-footer.
Well, he looked too late, as you said. At 5, he was okay. Then he turned away, looked back, and then said, oh, I'm in trouble right now.
Down to 43 seconds remaining in the first quarter. Here's Campbell. Jefferson out of the pack, being chased. Leads it for Williams. Another fast break bucket for the Nets. They lead 28-11.
Richard Jefferson talked about how much he'd learned from Jason Kidd this season. He obviously learned how to lead the fast break.
28 points, a high for the Nets for a quarter in this series. Shot clock down at 3. Campbell way off, and Wallace with the follow. The offense has been all Ben Wallace. 4 for 5 from the field. Jefferson for 3. 3/10 of a second has to be a tip. That's waved off. It might be a catch and shoot. The crowd here at the New Jersey Meadowlands reacting to this opening quarter by the Nets. 9 for 19 from the field, while Detroit has struggled at 5 for 21. That's 31, Pistons 13. Welcome back to the New Jersey Meadowlands. A breakout first quarter for the Nets. 31-13 over Detroit. The Pistons low for a quarter this season. 9 points. That occurred on 2 occasions. And Ben Wallace has been the offense. 4 of 5, 8 points. Rest of the team just 1 for 16 from the field.
You want to think about New Jersey struggling against this Piston defense. Of the 9 quarters of basketball played thus far, 6 times they've been in the teens. Finally got to a 30-point quarter.
Millicent Hamilton in the backcourt with Okor, Williamson, and Ham up front. Here's Hamilton. Jefferson able to tip it to Rogers. Nets stay without Jason Kidd. He continues to get a rest on the bench. So Kittles and Harris at the guards. Rogers, Williams, and Jefferson up front. Jefferson with a shot clock. That's a 3 for Richard Jefferson.
He really struggled from the field those first 2 games. 1 for 12 in game 1, 5 for 13 in game 2. So sometimes the law of averages are just going to work for you.
14 points for Jefferson. 4 of 4 from the field and 4 for 4 at the line. Foul is called on Rogers. Let's check in with D-Line. And D.
Well, Marv, Larry Brown saying to his team before this quarter started, he said, you know, let's play between timeouts. Let's put a dent in this deficit before the next timeout. Too many quick shots, and with the exception of Ben Wallace, nobody going to the glass.
Well, that's exactly what he said in game 2 after the Nets had the lead going into the third quarter, and the Pistons were able to turn things around. Foul is called on Rogers. That's his second, and in the act, so Williamson will go to the line.
It's the right strategy. You want to compartmentalize the game a little bit, play from timeout to timeout, from quarter to quarter, try to cut into that lead. A lot easier to do that, though, at home. When the road crowd is into the game like they are tonight here in New Jersey, makes things a lot tougher on a team trying to get back in things.
Williamson, a 73% free throw shooter. He has been playing through injuries here in the postseason and the latter stages of the regular season. Nets 34, Pistons 14. Jason Kidd has returned along with Kenyon Martin. Martin played by Ham with help from Hamilton. Harris draws the foul.
I don't remember seeing this much double teaming by Detroit. I mean, they have gone after people. I think it's Larry Brown trying to get his team to be more aggressive right now, not liking the way that they came out versus New Jersey. So we've seen a number of aggressive double teams by the Pistons. And in fact, when Jefferson hit that three-point shot a minute ago, that was against the double team.
You're right. I think they're just trying to pick up their defense, pick up their intensity. And they normally do not like to double at all. That's one of the reasons they're the best team in the league at defending the three-point line. They don't double, they don't rotate, they stick with their men, but they've got to try to get something going here tonight.
That's now 13 of 14 at the line. Williamson. Rebounded by Hamilton.
Scorers find ways to score. It's incredible, but they happen to have their nose right at the right spot when the ball comes off the rim. That's a guard. Normally he's outside the perimeter somewhere. No, he's right there laying it in.
Early pass. Harris could not hit. Phillips lost his balance. Nets wanted a traveling violation. Pistons going without Ben Wallace and Rasheed Wallace as Darvin was able to knock it down. Rasheed took an early CF, picking up a second foul, and then getting a rest. 35-18, New Jersey. Game 3 of the best of 7. Nets trying to get back into the series. Detroit looking to go up 3-0. With Game 4 here on Tuesday night. Williams on the follow. Looked like he took the extra step. Martin was fouled by Ham, and they have some words.
Well, Core turned his ankle, Mark. He's down reaching for it right now, and he landed on the ground after he took the shot at the other end. He went down, laid there for a second, came hobbling up the floor.
And apparently a technical foul has been called on Darvin Ham.
His first team's second. We have a technical foul on Kenyon Martin.
Let's see, a personal foul on Ham and the technical on Martin. So it's Kenyon Martin who's called for the technical. Timeout taken. New Jersey with a 35-18 lead. All right, here it is, tonight's version. Bud Light's Idle Thoughts from the mind of the czar. The mind of the czar.
So-called mind.
You know, while I was sitting in my room doing my research and homework, I realized how important this game was for the New Jersey Nets, because when you're down 3-0 in a series, most difficult to come back. In fact,
you figured that out.
In fact, only 3 of 170 teams down 3-0 have come back, okay, to a Game 7. In fact, the most recent one last year, Portland tied Dallas 3-3, but lost in the 7th game.
And no one in the history of the NBA has ever pulled it off. It's been done twice in the National Hockey League. And Czar, the last time that was done, as you pointed out to me earlier, the 1975 New York Islanders over the Pittsburgh Penguins.
You know, I had no idea it was so difficult to come back from the 3-0 deficit.
He figured it out, though.
He did, doing his homework in his room.
That technical foul on Kenyon Martin was called for contact after the play as he and Darvin Ham got involved. At first, it appeared that Ham was called on the tee, but it was Martin. Harris wide open. And Wallace has checked back in. 35-18, that's with the lead.
Well, the Pistons have gotten this game back under control in terms of the pace. More of a half-court style now, and that's the situation that New Jersey doesn't want to find itself in. But in order to take advantage, the Pistons are going to have to find a way to score.
Foul on Aaron Williams. Nets with their 3rd team foul. Larry Brown staying with Ben Wallace on the front line, along with Wallace Williamson and Darvin Ham. Phillips and Hamilton in the backcourt. Last touch by the Nets. 5 on the shot clock. In game 2 on Friday night at the Palace, the Detroit backcourt dominated the Nets. To this point, that has not been the case. Pistons overall just 7 of 26 from the field. Here's Hamilton digging hard. He is fouled. Foul on Harris, his first.
Well, when you talked about the backcourt domination, the biggest number that jumped out, I mean, the field goal percentages were a disaster for New Jersey. 23% from the regular inside the three-point line, 22% from behind the three-point line. But free throw attempts, Mark, Detroit got to the line 18 times, made 17 out of 18. Jersey only 4 times. They're 2 for 4. I mean, that's not the norm.
Reminder, tomorrow night here on TNT, it's game 3 between the Pacers and the Heat, followed by the T-Wolves and the Kings. Coverage starting 8 o'clock Eastern time. Last night, Timberwolves able to bounce back, led by Kevin Garnett and Sam Cassell. Tuesday night on TNT, it's the Pistons and the Nets. Game 4 of this series, and then the Spurs and the Lakers. Coverage starting at 8 o'clock Eastern time. Rogers' pass broken up and deflected by Hamilton. It'll be New Jersey ball, but only 3 on the shot clock. Richard Jefferson sent the hot hand, checks back in. Here comes Rasheed Wallace, who played only 2 minutes in this first half. 0 for 2 from the field and 2 fouls.
Picked up that silly second one, too, and it's the kind of play that I always wonder, why don't you just let a guy go so you can keep yourself in the game?
Henry Martin able to drill it on a beautiful fadeaway. 9 points for Martin.
Let's see if they go right back at each other now, trying to put the 3rd foul, because Martin has 2. Rasheed Wallace has 2 personals.
Hamilton draws the foul. Hamilton with that high dribble moving left was hit by Harris.
Hamilton is a guy that loves to use his right hand, so here you see them influencing him to his left hand. He gets in the seam down the middle, foul on the way.
You know, Steve, I felt that Lawrence Frank really laid out the game plan for us earlier. Czar asked the opening question, what are the altercations for tonight?
That was a little joke. Come on. You know that was humorous.
He meant alterations.
Well, we've seen a couple of alterations here early on. Darvin Ham and who was it?
Or alternatives.
Kenyon Martin.
Alternatives. Get that one, guys.
Oh, alternatives. Oh, okay. Yes. Gotcha.
Nets 37. And the Pistons 21.
I've got a thesaurus in my room. I'll lend you later.
Foul is called on Hamilton. That's his first.
Hamilton being very aggressive, trying to put pressure on the ball, so he turns Kittles into a bad passer. A little too much contact and not slap. That's what it's called.
Jefferson met by Prince. Lost it. Rasheed Wallace for 3. One-handed by Aaron Williams. Martin working on Rasheed Wallace. Here's Martin. Sprint. Last touched by Detroit.
That could have been an offensive foul on Martin. He took his left elbow and hooked the defender as he went to make his move in the lane. He's lucky he got away with it. Watch the left arm. There's the hook where he tries to pinch that elbow down on him.
Kid having difficulty inbounding, and it's picked off by Ben Wallace.
This is what turned it around in the 3rd quarter of last game. Turnovers by New Jersey, which allowed Detroit right back in the game again.
Pistons take a timeout. 6:38 remaining. First half. Nets up by 16. The 2004 NBA playoffs on TNT are being brought to you by Sky Sport, the new low-carb, ultra-premium malt beverage with a taste of citrus and cranberry. And by Dodge, as we welcome you back to the Continental Airlines Arena in New Jersey. Let's check in with Dee Lightem. Dee.
Thanks, Mark. We all know it is Mother's Day. Lawrence Frank's mother is in attendance tonight, sitting with his wife, Susan. Marilyn telling me that she said, Lawrence, tell your players they all owe this one to their moms. Meanwhile, Larry and Herb Brown were able to call their mom on the phone and wish her a happy Mother's Day. Ann Brown, amazingly, is going to be 100 years old this August, and she keeps very close tabs on her two sons because she has a DirecTV NBA package, and of course, TNT games are on nationally. But Marv, I want to go back to Maryland. She and Nazar have something in common.
Yes.
What we have in common is both involved or connected to Hackensack High School. She works at the high school. I graduated from a high school.
She's in the front office there, I hear, huh?
She basically runs the high school now, yes.
Oh! And a loose ball foul is called by, it's on Aaron Williams.
Or is Nazar's jersey hanging up at Hackensack High School, or?
I believe they have a sport coat of his hanging up.
A glass-encased microphone.
Yeah.
Lawrence Frank said they have my helmet, football helmet hanging, the leather one, he said, with no crossbar.
Meanwhile, how about Ann Brown, as Dee mentioned, coming up on 100 years of age, and Larry and Herb telling us earlier that she does not miss an NBA game in her assisted living complex down in Charlotte, North Carolina. And Larry saying that she watched the Lakers win over San Antonio this afternoon, was very unhappy about it because Greg Popovich, the head coach of the Spurs, very close to the Brown family, and said she loves Pop. In fact, he was best man at Larry Brown's wedding. His brothers are getting inside, so she was unhappy about the result.
So, I know that Ann Brown is a big fan and will be 100, but I also have to say Happy Mother's Day to my mom, who is watching and watches all the broadcasts. So, Mom, Happy Mother's Day to you. You're not 100, Mom, only 84. Okay, but you're working your way up there.
Well, I know my mom's not watching, so I don't have to wish her a Happy Mother's Day on the air anyway, but I'll call her.
How do you know she's not watching?
She's not much of a basketball fan, Marv.
I figured she might want to see if you're okay, you know, hear the sound of the voice.
Maybe that's why she's not watching.
You're right. That's a good point. 38-23. Nets with the lead. They opened up with a burst. They led 31-13 after one. Just under 6 minutes to play in this first half. Marv Albert with the czar, Mike Fratello, Steve Kerr, Dee Lightem. Prince with the stop. Even draws the foul. Alan Collins, that's his third.
You know, Larry Brown talked about playing quarter to quarter, timeout to timeout, trying to make some defensive stops, get back into the game. It's so much easier to do that when you have a dominant low post threat. But the way the Pistons play, they really rely so much on their guards for scoring that they're very dependent on outside shooting and perimeter shooting. It's much tougher to get back into the game on the road when you're depending on your guards for all your scoring.
After watching how Tayshaun Prince finished up the Milwaukee series and had a terrific game one, 6 for 10, 15 points, 10 rebounds in this series, it seems like he's been missing now for a long time from the action. Right now, Prince has one field goal attempt in 11 minutes of play.
Detroit in the midst of an 11-3 run. Kerry Kittles. 6 points for Kittles. Nets 40, Pistons 25. There's Rasheed Wallace getting inside.
And that's what Rasheed Wallace needs to do more of. Instead of just standing out at the three-point line and casting jumpers, go inside and use that athletic body, those long arms. Get to the rim, get to the foul line.
That was the first field goal for Rasheed. Kidd. Martin comes up with it. Shot clock down to 5. One on the shot clock. Rogers will it count? No. Offensive foul. That's 3 on Rogers. So 3 apiece on Rogers and Collins.
Rogers has the jump shot initially once again, but elects to put it on the floor. There you see the defensive rotation. Defensive man clearly there outside the defensive zone. It's a charge.
So the Pistons chipping away. They have trailed by as many as 21. It's now a 13-point net lead. Battle between Kenyon Martin and Corliss Williamson down low. As Ben Wallace called for a calming violation, discontinued, take your pick, as he was met by Brian Scalabrine, who had just checked in for Rodney Rogers.
Well, they kind of got rid of that call a few years ago. A lot of guys carry the ball, but that was so blatant, they had to call it.
Now Martin, played by Prince, goes right at him and scores. That's a tough assignment for Tayshaun Prince. Despite the huge wingspan, Martin is just too big for him.
And I think you can see by that move why coaches call that sometimes a bully move, because basically he just bullied him right over the top, too strong for the score.
Now Prince gives it up. Shot clock down to 4. Hamilton is fouled. Hamilton whipping by Kidd off the left wing and met by Scalabrine, called for his first.
Well, you mentioned it, Mike. This kid is flat out a scorer. He finds a way to get it done, whether it's getting to foul line, drives like that, or knocking down shots off the curl. And he's only scored 7 points here tonight on 2 for 7 shooting, but these would be his 5th and 6th trips to the foul line. So eventually, by the end of the game, his numbers will be there.
Richard Hamilton in his 2nd year as a member of the Pistons after 3 years with Washington. He was acquired in that deal for Jerry Stackhouse overall his 5th NBA season. He's cut it to 13, just under 4 minutes to play in this first half.
This is a classic example of a young man that when he first came in the league, and there's the backdoor attempt by Jersey to steal by the Pistons. Hamilton, young guy coming in the league, they weren't quite sure how much basketball meant to him. How dedicated was he going to be? Didn't want to lift weights, didn't want to put the extra time in. And now you see when he makes that decision what he's turned into.
Foul is called on Martin. That's his 3rd, and that'll send Williamson to the line.
Lawrence Frank desperately wants to end this quarter in good fashion to maintain this lead that they've worked so hard to build. But now with Kenyon Martin going to the bench, 13-point lead, 3.5 minutes to go. Detroit with a chance to cut into the lead.
All right, thanks, Ernie. This afternoon, San Antonio's 17-game win streak came to an end. Lakers with a convincing victory, so the Spurs now lead 2-1. We'll be in LA for game number 4 on Tuesday night here on TNT. Second of the doubleheader, Pistons and Nets in the first game. The Nets up by 13. They've led by as many as 21. Corliss Williamson at the line. So 3 Nets with 3 fouls. Kenyon Martin, Jason Collins, and Rodney Rogers. Kenyon Martin taking a seat after picking up his 3rd. Detroit's last 13 points have come from the free throw line. Oh, beautiful pass. Scalabrine is fouled. Jason Kidd with the setup for Brian Scalabrine. Foul on the Meadow core.
A lot of times if you get pressure in the backcourt, the best thing you do is attack it. Make them pay if they're going to step out and extend their defense. And Jason Kidd probably as good as anybody in the league at attacking pressure.
I think Lawrence Frank right now, it feels a little lull taking place in his team, so I think he's signaling right now that after this free throw, he wants him to go into some kind of press here. He's hoping Scalabrine will make this second one and let his guards get up front here and see if they can put a little pressure on Detroit rather than allowing the Pistons to come down and be very comfortable in their sets. And unfortunately, Scalabrine misses the free throw attempt.
Both teams spending much time at the line in this first half. 18 free throws. Nets 15 of 18, and the Pistons 15 of 19. Here's Hamilton with the runner. Kid being pressured by Hamilton, finding Jefferson. Jefferson rebounded by Ben Wallace.
When was the last time we saw a fast break basket for New Jersey?
Brown wanted an offensive foul on Carlos Williamson. Just under 3 minutes to play, first half. Williams had it stripped. Good play by Williamson. Hamilton. Rebounded by Wallace. Wallace again. And a late whistle, foul called. Ben Salvatore, the outside official, calling the foul. It is on Scalabrine.
Well, the crowd doesn't like it. The Nets don't like it. But clearly, Ben Wallace was fouled. You'll see him working hard here on the offensive glass. He goes up once and then a second time here, gets hit right on the arm by Scalabrine. The reason Lawrence Frank is upset is that it was a very late call made by Bennett Salvatore.
Ben Wallace, a 49% free throw shooter. What a first half for Ben. 11 points, 10 rebounds. The rest of the Pistons have accounted for only 7 rebounds. Nets lead by 11 as we approach 2 minutes to play in this first half. Kittles. Okor on the rebound.
Well, where do they find points in the half court? That's the question for New Jersey.
Phillips with a nice look. He passed up on the jumper, and he found Williamson. It's a 20-8 run by Detroit.
Slowly, Detroit chipping away at it. Larry Brown knowing that if we can get this thing back to a manageable number, we have halftime to regroup, come back out, and then hopefully play as well as we did in the third quarter in game number 2. Do it here again tonight.
Jefferson, yes. 17 points for Jefferson. He's 5 of 6 from the field. Nets opened up with a blitz on the Pistons in the first quarter. Phillips with a bad shot. Rebounded by Ben Wallace. Nice play for Carlos Williamson.
What a great feed by the offensive juggernaut, Ben Wallace.
We've seen Ben Wallace do a few more things offensively than I think we've ever seen in the past. And he's allowed to do it right now. And Larry Brown kind of understanding that Scalabrine with the layup that Wallace's skill level is much higher than maybe you think.
That was a terrific adjustment by Brian Scalabrine. He saw Ben Wallace in his path. He was able to extend, hold off on the shot, and score. Here's Phillips. Rebounded by Ben Wallace. He stopped again by Williams, and a foul.
And Mike, there's your guy, Rip Hamilton, the scorer, who just always has a nose for the ball, as you said.
You know what happened? Wallace wanted to catch the first one and dunk it while he was in the air, but he couldn't do it, so he came down. Then he got blocked by the rim that time before he's fouled at the end.
Foul on Scalabrine. That's 3 on Brian Scalabrine, a 3-year man out of Southern California, has played well since coming on for Kenyon Martin.
In my interpretation, he got fouled, but really, it was Rip Hamilton that got fouled and is going to the line.
Your interpretation doesn't really matter, though, Mike.
I understand.
That lead is now 10. Hamilton 6 of 7 at the line. Only 2 of 9 from the field. So the combination of Hamilton and Phillips, just 2 for 13 in this first half.
And now an important close here to the second quarter for the Nets. They have a chance for a 2-for-1 here with a 9-point lead.
Jefferson on the spin. 6-second differential between the game clock and shot clock. A 21-point lead is now down to 9. Kidd able to poke it away and deflected out of bounds by Phillips. One ball, says Ron Garrison. Beautiful play by Jason Kidd. And the Nets take a 20.
Well, Kidd anticipates the fact that he knows they're trying to get the ball to Hamilton for the last shot there, so anticipates the pass is going to the outside. He fakes like he's going to be on the inside, runs around the outside, deflects it, then gets the good touch there at the end by Billups. And he's going to help out a little bit. He's going to officiate besides playing.
And he might have a little more influence than you on the officials, Mike, just a little bit.
Lawrence Frank in the middle of the net huddle. Lawrence grew up in Teaneck, New Jersey, a student manager at Indiana, working for Bobby Knight, a staff assistant at Marquette under Kevin O'Neill, and spent 3 years as an assistant for Vancouver under Brian Hill, who's now an assistant coach for the Nets. And then he landed with the Nets on Byron Scott's staff and took over for Byron in late January. Final seconds of the first half. Jefferson putting the move on Williamson. Here's Kidd for 3. The Pistons with a 24-12 run the last 10.5 minutes. The Nets have led by as many as 21 and have a 9-point lead at halftime. Richard Jefferson leading the way for New Jersey, 5 of 6 from the field, 17 points. Let's go to D with Richard Jefferson.
All right, we are with Richard. Richard, you had the hot hand. You set the tone early for your team. Clearly, they made a run. What needs to happen when you start the second?
Well, we need to rebound. You know, we have a lot of respect for this team. We know they can come back from a big lead, so we're not going to let down. But, you know, there was a lot of fouls called in that second quarter. A lot of fouls, and most of them weren't in our favor. So we've got to keep fighting and come back in the second half. Defensively, you helped out in terms of slowing down their backcourt. What have you done that's been so effective? Well, we cross-matched. We put Jay Kidd on Rip Hamilton. Hopefully that his size will kind of bother him, and it has a little bit. But we got to clean up the boards now. That's our main focus. Thank you, and congratulations on that first. Thank you.
All right, D, 38 points for the Pistons, a franchise low for a first half in postseason play. That's since the inception of the shot clock. Nets 47, Pistons 38. Let's go to Atlanta studios for Ernie, Kenny, Charles, and Steve Francis.
No, you could. That's what I'm like that.
And here we are with the Verizon Wireless halftime report. Just a lot of small talk being made here. Yes, Charles.
Ben Wallace he's like Dennis Rodman, man. I'm so impressed. Number one, he's improved his game so much, scoring, shooting free throws and everything. But I would pay just to watch him rebound. He's unbelievable.
You know he called himself after game one an offensive juggernaut who just plays defense in his spare time because he hit a couple of jumpers in the fourth quarter. He's showing what he can do here.
You know, Charles and I talk about this a lot. About guys after the game, you see them in a post-game interview, and they're saying, well, if I would have shot well today, I could have, maybe helped it. I didn't get a rhythm in the game. And we always say that good players can only change the game one way, good players. Great players can change it two ways. Ben Wallace has changed the game on the defensive end. And if you just watch what he does defensively, everywhere, steals, rebound, hustle plays, you don't have to score. Look at this. Go get this one for me, big fella.
Get out
you
here,
don't have to
fella.
score.
Get your little butt out of here.
Go get this one for me, big fella. You don't have to score to change the game. And that's the difference between great players in this league. I'm going to go
get out of here, little
I'm going to get somebody else's shot. Assists, rebounds.
The Nets returned home looking to regain their playoff form. Jason Kidd and New Jersey look to push the tempo in the first half. Detroit must return to their blue-collar roots if they wish to push the Nets to the brink of playoff elimination. Can the Wallaces and the Pistons stage another second-half comeback? The drama of the NBA playoffs continues on TNT.
It is halftime at the Continental Airlines Arena in the New Jersey Meadowlands. Looking across the river at the Statue of Liberty. Nets with a 47-38 lead on the Pistons. Marv Albert, Steve Kerr, the czar Mike Fratello, and czar 1 point. Detroit down by as many as 21. They shoot only 25% in the first half, yet they're within 9 here at halftime.
Well, first of all, give a little credit to Lawrence Frank making that adjustment, switching the defensive assignment. So they started out the game with Kittles on Billups, and after the first 2 games, the Detroit guards averaging 38 points combined. Right now, they have only 11 points on 2 for 13 shooting, so a nice little adjustment on his part.
And, Steve, the Nets started out with a barrage, particularly with fast break points. They had 11 fast break points first 6.5 minutes, only 2 since then. So, obviously, Larry Brown able to adjust.
Well, the Nets came out with unbelievable energy, and it's impossible, really, to sustain that. So now the question becomes, as it becomes a half-court situation, can New Jersey score? With Jason Kidd struggling, just 1 for 7 in the first half, 8 for 33 for the series. Can New Jersey score in the half court enough to hold off this Piston team?
We're looking at the Home Depot game summary. Pistons 10 of 40 for the 25%. Nets 15 of 35. Nets with a slight edge off the boards. Pistons with a 14-2 advantage in second chance points. And again, Kenyon Martin looking to rev up this crowd. Only 16 points for the Nets in the second quarter, outscored 25-16 after the Pistons were held to 13 in the first quarter. Richard Jefferson leading the Nets with 17. Kenyon Martin has 11. Jason Kidd shot only 1 of 7 from the field. He continues to struggle. And some house cleaning being supervised by the official, Bennett Salvatore.
They have a cup of ice on the floor out there, so they're wiping up, make sure no one's injured. Slips on that as they're going by.
And Wallace, 11 points, 13 rebounds, an outstanding first half. Richard Hamilton only 2 of 9, but he did score 11, doing his damage at the foul line. Let's check in with D. Lynham. D.
Well, Marv, Lawrence Frank has 4 players with 3 personal fouls, 18 fouls called against his guy. Clearly, he thought things changed after Larry Brown was given the technical. He said, I know I'm a rookie coach. Maybe I got to get a tee to even things back out. But he said it will be critical how we start this third. We must be as aggressive as we started the game, and we must play through the way it's being called.
Well, you see the aggressive play at the defensive end as Kittles was able to steal that inbounds. Shot clock to 7. Kidd with a backdoor flip. And as Martin made his move, a foul is called. It is an offensive foul. That is number 4 on Kenyon Martin.
Boy, that is a huge call there. Jason Kidd setting up Martin on the screen and roll, and as he receives the pass, he runs into Ben Wallace, who looks like he has position underneath, outside the arc. Good call by Ronnie Garrettson.
You know what happened that time to Ben Wallace, Steve, is behind him was Collins. Collins kind of took his legs out from under him as Martin went into his chest. Like a guy behind you, one of your young friends pushes you backwards over the top of him. He could have got hurt seriously on that.
I bet you played that game all the time as a kid, didn't you?
Yeah. He would come up with an example like that. A little prank. Jefferson is hooked by Hamilton. Second foul on Hamilton. This crowd has really been into it. You mentioned, Steve, at the start you had never heard the crowd here at the New Jersey Meadowlands. And so sparked up.
Well, it's rarely boisterous crowd, unless you're here for a hockey game, but they have come out tonight and really gotten behind their team.
Tayshaun Prince met by Jason Collins. Prince with Ben Wallace and Rasheed Wallace up front. Rip Hamilton, Chauncey Billups in the backcourt. Down to 5 on the shot clock. Here's Billups. Jason Kidd has done an excellent job on Billups. That time Kittle switched off. Billups now 0 for 5. Jefferson posting and how to give it up. Here's Kidd. Jefferson. Yes.
Well, with Kenyon Martin out of the game, Richard Jefferson becomes the #1 scoring option for the Nets, and you can see Jason Kidd passing up 2 different shots on that possession just to get the ball to Jefferson.
I was going to say, very reluctant to shoot the ball. Jason Kidd just 1 for 8 from the floor, but he has 7 assists already in this game.
Down to 4 on the shot clock. Wallace is fouled. Fouled by Kittles.
If you're Detroit, the way you're shooting the ball tonight, you have to have Rasheed Wallace involved offensively, and especially down near the block. He's got too much talent to spend his time out on the perimeter, especially when his team needs him. You're shooting 10 for 42 right now. Establish yourself down on the block, get yourself going, help your team out.
You know, it's a staggering number. Here we are, 10 minutes left in the 3rd quarter. One team has 18 free throw attempts already. The other team has 23 already, with numbers 24 and 25 coming up right now for Rasheed Wallace. That is a lot of foul shots for one half of basketball, basically.
There you see the numbers. Rasheed Wallace is 74% free throw shooter. The Pistons went 54 and 28 in the regular season. They won 20 of their last 24. First round of the playoffs, beat the Bucks in 5. Milwaukee's only win taking place in Detroit. Kittles. Nice goal by Terry Kittles. He went to the left hand and was able to switch over.
Not too often you go to the rim against Detroit and find no one there to try and challenge or block your shot.
Well, nice job by Jason Collins clearing the space by putting a body on to Ben Wallace.
And Chauncey Billups with his first field goal. That's 51, Pistons 42. Rodney Rogers now up front with Jason Collins and Richard Jefferson. Rogers. Collins.
Boy, the Nets really need Collins to knock down that jump shot. He can space the floor by putting himself out on the perimeter, but only if he's making the shot.
Rasheed Wallace hearing it from the crowd way off on that three-point attempt. Kidd gets the pick. Met on a switch by Prince. Finding Kittles. Nice pass. Kittles is fouled. He was helped. Kittles upset with himself. Hoping to hit. And then head to the line looking for a three-point play. Ben Wallace called for his second foul.
You'll see Kittles take off, and he goes into the defensive man that time. Watch him lean into his right at the last second. He knows there's a body coming. He knows who that body is. He doesn't want to get it rejected, so he just bumps him away a little bit with his shoulder.
Always better to take the ball right at a shot blocker rather than to fade away and try to shoot over him.
Well, there was a reason why I mentioned the number of free throws before by both teams, because in game number 1, both teams had 21 free throw attempts. In game 2, one team had 24, one team 23. And I mentioned early on in the game tonight that players have to get the feel for how the game is going to go. That's why you've had Martin on the bench and Wallace on the bench with fouls.
And yet another whistle. Call on Rogers. That is his 4th.
Well, now you may see more of Brian Scalabrine.
As you say that, here's Scalabrine checking back in. Did a nice job in his 5 minutes in the first half, although he picked up 3 fouls. Rogers takes a seat.
Well, the other option is Aaron Williams, and he's got 2 fouls. So New Jersey with some difficulties here foul-wise.
Rasheed Wallace, nice touch. Rashid has been plagued by that leg injury throughout the playoffs. It occurred late in the regular season, but he has looked better and better as the postseason has progressed. There's Jefferson getting inside. What a move by Richard Jefferson.
How about the strength to be able to fend off Ben Wallace and still turn and get to the rim?
That's why Ben is talking to the official coming up the floor, because he said it was him who knocked me away that time on his shot attempt.
Scalabrine defending on Rasheed Wallace.
You know, Mark, I was just going to say that right now, if you're Lawrence Frank, you're a little concerned because Billups finally made his first basket, and Rasheed Wallace has now made his last 2 field goals. 2 guys who were completely out of it, suddenly finding where the rim is here.
And you can see Rasheed is pumped up. He's finally got himself into this game.
Scalabrine with the step. He was pushed. He'll head to the line. Nice change of pace by Brian Scalabrine.
Well, one of the best shooting touches in the league for a big man, Rasheed Wallace. Finally getting a shot to go down. Feeling a little emotion here. You can see he's getting himself heated up and ready to go in this second half.
Brian Scalabrine was fouled by Tayshaun Prince. Scalabrine, good foul shooter, 83% during the season.
I think it's very nice of the Nets to wear the red socks in honor of Scalabrine's hair color.
I thought it was for Lawrence Frank's hair.
Could be. Phillips with the step. Rejected by Collins. There's Jefferson. Leading Kidd. Back it goes to Scalabrine. Nets 57. Pistons 46. Kittle's gambling. Hamilton. Back comes Kidd. Nets look to run. Pistons get back. Kidd. And Phillips not able to hang on.
Sometimes what looks to be a sure layup by Billups suddenly turns into a fast break opportunity for New Jersey. Instead of taking the layup himself, Jason Kidd dishes it off to Scalabrine.
Broken up by Ben Wallace. He is everywhere.
He really is. He's unbelievable. Charles Barkley talked a little bit about him at halftime. 15 rebounds. And he said he'd pay to see Ben Wallace play. I don't believe it. I don't think Charles would pay for any ticket in the NBA. He always expects that freebie.
Jefferson for 3. Yeah. Richard Jefferson with 24 points. 8 of 10 shooting. The Nets up by 14. Pistons had cut it to 8. New Jersey led by as many as 21 in the first half. Collins was pushed. Grayson Collins taking the hit. Offensive foul on Rasheed Wallace. That's 3 on Rasheed.
Well, Rasheed trying to get position, uses that left arm to clear Collins out. Nice little acting job by Jason, gets the call. And Rasheed showing restraint.
Well, to go back to Richard Jefferson, remember, coming into tonight, just 24% shooting, 13 points a game, 8 for 10 tonight.
Jefferson trying to get it down low, and he was pushed in the process, pushed by Ben Wallace, so 3 apiece on the Detroit front line of Ben, Rasheed, and Tayshaun Prince. 14 fouls on Detroit. Kidd for 3. Scalabrine able to hustle it down. Scalabrine is doubled up, and a timeout wisely called by the Nets.
A smart play by Richard Jefferson to call the timeout.
Well, we'll go back a moment ago. We talked about Richard Jefferson, 24 points. He lines up the 3. It looks good from the time it comes out of his hand.
The 2004 NBA playoffs on TNT is brought to you by Southwest Airlines, the official airline of the NBA playoffs and finals. And by IBM, making on-demand business a reality for companies around the world. We're back at the New Jersey Meadowlands. Let's take a look at our Gatorade X Factor of the game.
Well, Richie Jefferson had to find his shooting stroke. He came into this game 6 for 25 in this series, and he started off deep in the right-hand corner. Became very aggressive, taking the ball to the basket, and then his range improved as he went out behind the three-point line. He has 24 points, 8 for 10 from the floor, 5 for 6 from the free throw line.
This the guy who led the Nets in scoring against Detroit during the regular season. Had a terrific first-round series against the Knicks. And it's been a breakout night for Richard Jefferson. There's Jefferson again, this time way off.
Thought he actually had the seam for the drive that time. He wound up pulling it back out for the fadeaway jump shot.
Prince, nowhere to go, and it's picked off. Played very well by Jefferson. He closed the baseline. Jefferson to the rim. He thought he was fouled. Back comes Phillips. He lost it. Jefferson ahead of the field. Jefferson. The Nets lead by 16.
Well, after so many fouls have been called here in the first 2.5 quarters, it looks like the officials are starting to let both teams play.
8 unanswered points for the Nets, just under 5 remaining in this third quarter. Hamilton. Richard Hamilton with 13 points, and he's now the high man for Detroit, although he has shot only 3 of 11. The Pistons at 29% for the night. Phillips got a hand on it. Scalabrine lost it. Shot clock running down. Collins is emphatically rejected. It's a 24-second violation.
That's got to be an ugly thought to know that the shot clock is running out. You have to shoot it, and Wallace is coming after you. It's hopeless. Here he goes. He's got to go up, and there he goes out of bounds for a violation.
Thanks a lot, Jason Collins says. Thanks a lot, ball, for landing in my hands.
The next sound he heard was smack. Yes. First block shot of the night for Ben Wallace. Detroit led the NBA, averaging 7 blocks per game during the regular season. Williamson just checked back in. Takes the circle route. Rebounded by Jefferson. Looks to run. Had no angle on that pass as Hamilton was all over Kidd.
That was the key. Hamilton got up into the passing lane just as Jefferson was going to kick it over to Kidd on his left. Hamilton stepped up, had nowhere to go with it, just threw it out of bounds behind him. Basically, would have been a turnover either way.
Hamilton off a series of fakes. Scalabrine able to get it ahead for Kittles. Rasheed Wallace for 3. Collins on the rebound.
Boy, it is just a struggle right now for either team to find a basket anywhere.
Coming up on 3 minutes remaining in the third. Nets with the ball. They lead by 14, trying to get back in this series, trailing 2-zip. Game number 4 here at the New Jersey Meadowlands. Tuesday night, Jefferson. Yes! The 24-second buzzer. 28 points. That ties a playoff career high for Richard Jefferson. You can hear the chants of defense from this capacity crowd, and the call against the Pistons. It's an offensive foul on Rasheed Wallace. That's his 4th.
Well, it's been defense and Richard Jefferson for the Nets here tonight. New Jersey holding Detroit to 27% shooting, and this guy with 28, including the fadeaway as the shot clock buzzer sounded.
Well, the Nets with a 64-48 lead on the Pistons. Just under 3 to go in the third quarter. An eclectic group on hand at courtside. There's Snoop Dogg off his Saturday Night Live hosting last night. Chocolate Thunder, one-time net Darryl Dawkins. And one of the NBA's great players, Bernard King, one-time net, and Nick, who is involved in the Nets' new ownership group headed by Bruce Ratner. Bernard will be part of the move eventually to Brooklyn. That's where Bernard grew up. A schoolboy legend in Brooklyn.
Probably would have a pretty good argument about 50 greatest players if you started listing them. And he was spectacular. There was a stretch, a couple years where he was just simply unstoppable as an offensive player.
He was hit by injuries, and that limited his career, but I think he's a Hall of Famer.
I think so, too. He was incredible as a scorer. When he'd get that ball in the left wing on the fast break, it was over. But, you know, I never thought he really flourished until he came under your tutelage with the Knicks when you were an assistant coach under Hubie.
I was just the assistant. I think it was Hubie may have had something to do. I think it was Hubie may have had something.
He's so modest, isn't he?
He really is.
He came at you in that left lane. It was speed, power, and he was moving into you all the time to get the defender off, and then could finish with a dunk, could bank it off the glass. Sensational athlete.
Darvin Ham on the foul, putting Jason Collins at the line. Detroit is over the foul limit. What was so remarkable about Bernard King, and you can say the same for Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Kevin McHale in that class, they would always come back with a new move after the offseason.
Well, that was the mark of any great player. Always working at his game, improvement on weaknesses.
Bernard had that unorthodox jump shot. Just a different way of shooting it. It was tough to block it.
Almost like Antoine Jamison a little bit. He kind of scored it off a little bit.
Williamson. And he was tripped up by Scalabrine. That is... No, they say Collins. Scalabrine said no, the foul's on me, but it's Collins collecting his fourth. Let's check in with D.
Larry Brown very, very upset with his team right now and their inability to reverse the basketball. He encouraged them. He said, pass the ball. We must get to both sides of the floor. Chauncey Billups has just 2 assists to speak of after having 13 in game 2.
All right, D, now the foul is called on Scalabrine. That one he earned. That's his 4th, team foul number 4 on the Nets. New Jersey in the midst of a 12-2 run. Williamson gets it back. Kept the line by hand, and he blows the stuff. Here comes for 3. Rebounded by Jefferson.
Well, how about the foul trouble for New Jersey? You've got Martin, Collins, Rogers, and Scalabrine with 4 apiece.
Now the matchup, Jefferson going against Hamilton, but then Wallace over to help. It's a 3-point attempt by Kidd. Kept alive by Aaron Williams. Lucius Harris just checked in. Down low to Aaron Williams. Down looking for a goaltender. Here's Hamilton. Oh, what a move by Richard Hamilton.
I think the ball was on its way out over the rim. Was no factor of going back in again. I think it was a good defensive rebound.
Coming up on a minute to go in the third quarter. Jefferson. Scalabrine with a good play. And Kidd resets. Brian Scalabrine's been a major factor here tonight. Coming off the bench. And calls for no. He tried to call for timeout as he lost his balance. and was about to step out of bounds and then stepped out.
Marvin, if you remember during the course of the regular season, Brian Scalabrine actually replaced Rodgers with his minutes on the floor. He was playing better than Rodney Rodgers. The coaches rewarded him, and he was that substitution off the bench, the big man substitution. And eventually Rodgers came back again, a lot more experience. Rodgers can do a few more things than this guy can, but this guy gives you 100% energy and enthusiasm all the time on the floor.
And he's also got a nice touch around the basket. They can hit the perimeter shot.
Mike James has checked in for the first time tonight. Here's Ken Wallace off glass. And a delay of game is called on the Pistons, which means if there is a second delay of game, a technical foul is called.
And Ben knew that if he went quick enough with that offensive move, that his team would still have about 4 or 5 seconds coming back to end out the quarter.
3-second differential between the game clock and the shot clock. Down to 10 seconds left in the third. Jefferson. Final seconds. It's an offensive foul on James.
I would be complaining right now.
Yes.
Larry Brown should be. That shot clock should never have gone off. The ball was already secured.
Yes, it leads to hesitation, obviously, when you hear a buzzer, but the shot had been taken.
But I'm not sure what the right call is for the officials. Do they just say, let's start it over from where the buzzer went off? Because the game clock was still going.
Well, Detroit was on its way in transition, had the ball on a fast break, and then the buzzer goes off. So right then and there, I think the game should have been stopped immediately right there, and it should be Detroit's ball.
Although the officials may say, well, we did not want to curtail a fast break on the part of the Pistons. All right, here's a look at the play that we've been discussing as Jefferson fires it. And you heard the buzzer. Meanwhile, play resumes on the inbounds. Pistons. Rather, the Nets not able to get anything going on the inbounds pass. So after 3, it's the Nets with a 66-52 lead. Continental Airlines Arena in the New Jersey Meadowlands. Different story in the third quarter in contrast to what took place in Game 2, where the Pistons came roaring back, outscored the Nets 27-11. Friday night at the Palace, the Nets outscored Pistons 19-14 here tonight. They shot 7 of 20, while Detroit 6 for 17. From the field. Nets have led by as many as 21. They now lead by 14 as we get ready for the start here on the fourth.
Well, 7 for 20 may not be an offensive explosion, but it is better than Game 2. But the big thing is they held the Pistons to just 6 for 17 shooting in the third period by themselves. So their defense has been what's maintained this lead.
Kenyon Martin is back. He's playing with the 4 fouls. And that's last touch by Detroit. Rasheed Wallace in a very playful mood here this evening.
Well, Martin got a little elbow that time. Just before the ball went out of bounds, a little elbow in there by Martin.
Kick shot is blocked by Lindsey Hunter. And Jason Kidd is now 1 for 13. He does have 11 assists, but continues to struggle with the shot.
No, he is the kind of player, though, who can still have an effect on the game without shooting well. And as you mentioned, 11 assists, and you better believe Lawrence Frank will have him out here for the majority of the fourth quarter.
3 on the shot clock. Aaron Williams had to force it, did not make contact with the rim, and it's a shot clock violation.
Marvin, fairness to Jason Kidd, and I'm not saying this is the reason, but Lawrence Frank has really limited his practice minutes on all these off days they've had. They don't want the knee to blow back up again, just like Rasheed Wallace practiced for the first time on Wednesday for Detroit in a couple weeks. Jason Kidd has not practiced for them significant minutes, so it's tough to be a good shooter when you haven't gotten your practice in, your legs aren't there. It's a difficult thing.
Yeah, Jason Kidd playing through a sore left knee. Kenyon Martin has looked better despite the tendonitis in his left knee. They double up on Kidd. Here's Martin. Been a strong game for Martin despite the foul trouble. 13 points, 7 rebounds. 16-point advantage. Nets have led all the way. Hamilton for 3. Rebounded by Martin. There's Jefferson on the run. Look out. It will not count. What a shot, but it's an offensive foul.
Well, right, you got a couple guards on the floor here who will give their body up. One is Quincy Hunter, the other is Mike James. Mike James planted. He knows he's getting hit hard that time by Jefferson. He takes the blow. Clearly he's set. His feet are planted outside the defensive area.
Head fake by Ben Wallace. Aaron Williams did not go for it. What a beautiful pass. Ben Wallace to Rasheed Wallace.
A great cut by Rasheed Wallace, who caught Kenyon Martin peeking. Martin went down and tried to help out a little bit on Ben Wallace, and that allowed Rasheed to get right to the rim. Great feed by Ben.
3 assists for Ben Wallace. Nets up by 14. We're early in the 4th. Jefferson is fouled by Hamilton. Richard Hamilton playing with that face mask, protecting the broken nose. That's his 3rd foul. He has been in the middle of traffic.
He's been very aggressive defensively, especially here against Richard Jefferson. I'm amazed with Jefferson's level of intensity here tonight. The entire game, he's been the focal point of the offense.
Offensive foul on Jefferson. That's his 3rd.
You're right. Things are getting pretty testy out here between those two.
They just had a collision before. Same 2 players under the basket about a minute ago, away from the ball. Nobody said anything about it, but it was just like 2 cars hitting the head on. They both went to the floor.
Hamilton's pass broken up, recovered by Rasheed Wallace. Shoots the 3. And that was a long 3.
With about 13 seconds on the shot clock, so ill-advised shot by Rasheed Wallace.
Battle between Martin and Rasheed Wallace and a foul.
Double foul. Double foul that time. Each player receives a technical foul from the official. And we watch him fighting for position. Where are you going to call this? Who are you going to put the foul on? Front? No, I've got the front. No, I've got the front. No, you both got a foul on both of you.
So 5 apiece on Kenyon Martin and Rasheed Wallace. Jefferson going at Hamilton again and a foul. And it's really getting intensive in this 4th quarter.
It is heated out here, Marvin. I think the officials are doing all they can to try to keep from calling too many fouls and trying to keep this game under control. But the way the players are playing and competing, they have to make these calls.
See the foul rundown. Rasheed Wallace with 5, Richard Hamilton 4, Kenyon Martin 5, 4-piece on Collins, Rogers, and Scalabrine. Jefferson with 3.
The reason it's being exaggerated is because so many times both teams are going to a post-up situation. They're all fighting for that low post spot.
Rodney Rogers has returned, replacing Kenyon Martin. Friendly rim for Richard Jefferson. That's a new career playoff high. 30 points for Jefferson.
Did you see the way he changed the angle on the drive? He was afraid of picking up that charge.
Here comes Kittles. He has Jefferson. Kittles with the beautiful ball fake to take it the distance. Timeout call by Detroit.
what you were talking about, Steve. Watch Jefferson avoid the offensive foul. He pulls off to his left, floats it, and gets the lucky bounce. And then fake the pass, keep it myself, finish it off for Terry Kittles.
Human life means nothing to these people.
There's an active cell in place.
I know about the subways.
Juliana Margulies, Dylan McDermott.
Our cell versus their cell. I like it.
The Grid, coming this July exclusively on TNT.
Couple of programming reminders. Wednesday night on ESPN, it's Game 4 between the Pacers and the Heat, followed by the Timberwolves and the Kings. Coverage beginning at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, and then Thursday night on ABC is the Lakers and the Spurs in Game 5 of their series. Their coverage starting 8 o'clock Eastern Time. 8:47 remaining in this fourth quarter. Nets have led all the way. They've led by as many as 21. Detroit cut it to 8 on 2 occasions in the third quarter, but the Nets able to answer with an 8-0 run. John Prince has been quiet. Prince for 3. Barely caught the rim. O'Connor blew the lamp, but Ben Wallace is right there. So Ben Wallace has 15 points, 22 rebounds.
Unbelievable.
72-56, New Jersey. Rogers for 3. Hamilton guns it down. Here's O'Connor, rejected by Jefferson. But the pass, the outlet is thrown away.
If that outlet is going to Jason Kidd, it's probably a completion. But Kidd is on the bench right now. Lucius Harris playing the point guard. He's not used to chasing down long outlet passes.
Jason Kidd over at the scorer's table, and he will check in momentarily. Larry Brown stays with Mike James in the backcourt with Richard Hamilton. Here's James. That's his first field goal. Mike James, a local product out of Amityville, Long Island. Had to gather some extra tickets for tonight's game. Kittles challenging O'Connor.
Thought that move, little finger roll. We saw the right-handed jump hook off a post-up in the first half from Kittles, so he's pulling out the full repertoire tonight.
Kittles going right at the 6'11", Roberto O'Connor, 16-point net lead. James tried to get it down low, and it was broken up by Rogers. Jefferson posting Hamilton. Tried to find Williams. Here's James. It will count. And the foul.
Lawrence Frank standing over there trying to decide in his head, should we just take a foul while they dribble the ball and get Jason Kidd in the game somehow? Because he saw the clock running down. Detroit comes up with the possession. They wind up with the opportunity now to put 3 points on the board.
Foul on Williams. His third for more on Jason Kidd. Let's go to D-Line him.
Well, Marvin, talking to Jason yesterday, in the regular season, he played average 36-plus minutes per game. In his first 2 games against Detroit, he's averaged 44 minutes. And he said, you know, against the team that likes to trap and pressure and you don't have a true backup point guard, I need to be on the floor.
And that has been the case. Jason did get a brief rest. He's back in, playing the backcourt now with Kittles.
The team brings up a good point because there were a lot of days before game number 1, a lot of days before game number 2, so he could rest. Now 3 games in 5 days. Jason off the glass with the banker. So 3 games in 5 days. How will that affect his legs?
Nets now lead by 16. Just under 6 remaining in the fourth. Shot clock down to 5. James for 3. Air ball handled by Collins. Kid had it knocked away from behind by Williamson. Nice pass. Kittles is fouled, hammered by Phillips.
Kerry Kittles is smart enough to know when Kid has the ball, let me move, because he'll find me if I'm open.
The 2004 NBA playoffs on TNT is brought to you by IBM, making on-demand business a reality for companies around the world. By Van Helsing, starring Hugh Jackman and Kate Beckinsale. Now, adventure lives forever. By Wendy's new Chicken Temptations. It's better here. And by the new Sprite Remix Very Clear. All right, here is our Marines teamwork play of the game, and here's the song.
Jason Kidd might be just 2 for 14 from the floor, but watch when he gets himself down in the low post area. Kidd posting up. Notice how he turns his head looking to the inside of the floor, because what he's looking for is his teammate, Kerry Kittles, running a little back cut right there. He sees him right away with the pass. So 2 for 14 from the floor, but assist number 12 for Jason Kidd.
Would have been had the ball.
It would have been, yes.
Yes, it's all right.
A minor detail.
Czar has his own stat standards.
Well, when he makes this foul shot, then I'm going to give him an assist anyhow, because his pass led to a score.
Right, so you're changing
my own statistics. I have my own way of doing statistics.
Apparently.
That's up by 16.
Now it's an assist.
Well, doesn't he have to make the second one? Or he'd only get half an assist if he misses the second one, I would think.
He is so confused, Steve.
So am I, frankly.
It's a good point to bring up, though, for statisticians.
Right.
Should you be awarded an assist if you have a pass that leads to 2 free throw attempts?
Somehow, I don't think that will be on the table during the offseason.
During the rules committee gathering in New York.
Our statistician, Brian Taylor, just wrote the word imbecile. So, Darvin Ham, and the Nets now lead 77-62. I don't know, maybe that arrow was directed towards somewhere else. I'm not.
No, I don't think so.
Kidd played on the switch by Williamson. Rogers trying to squeeze his way through, and he's tied up. He thought he was fouled.
Well, I am amazed at the defense being played out here tonight. These teams just getting after it so quick. Everybody taking charges and play getting physical. Rodney Rogers not happy. The officials again involved in the steal by Phillips.
Kittle's got a piece of it from behind, but James is there for the follow. So the Nets lead is now 13, 4.5 remaining in this fourth quarter. Nets have led right from the start. They've led by as many as 21. Last time that the Nets trailed 2-0 in a series, they were swept by the Lakers. That was back in the 2002 NBA Finals. And looking to get back into this series with a victory here tonight. Jefferson called for the offensive foul. Ham set it up beautifully to take that charge.
Well, every official had the call. They all pointed the other way. I'm not so sure, though. Let's take a look. Is Darvin Ham set here? He's kind of sliding right in front of him. Oh, no, it's become such a judgment call for the officials. It's sometimes difficult when you've got athletes this quick and strong jumping in front of each other to make that call.
Ben Wallace and Rasheed Wallace check back in. We're down to 4 minutes to play in the fourth. And a foul is called. Kidd reaching in. That's his second.
So this is the most physical game I've seen in a long time, Mike.
Look at total fouls. 53 more than total field goals.
I guess that backs up my point. Both teams just hacking away.
Pass overthrown, intended for Rasheed Wallace. Nets 77, Pistons 64. Kid tried to go back door. It was recovered. Blocked by Rasheed Wallace. New Jersey in possession. They have 9 on the shot clock.
You know, you think it's over, this should be an easy win, but how about last night, Minnesota down 10 with about 4 minutes to go. They come back and win in regulation. So the Nets know they need a few more baskets here to seal this thing.
3:31 remaining in the fourth. Nets up by 13. Pistons with only 26 points in the second half. Looking ahead, coming up, following Nets and Pistons inside the NBA, presented by Hyundai. Special guest Steve Francis of the Houston Rockets, joining Ernie, Kenny, and Charles in the studio. A post-game reaction from our game. A look ahead to tomorrow's doubleheader. 3.5 to play in the fourth. And it's a 5-second violation. Rogers could not find anyone.
Very slow developing play by New Jersey. The Pistons played it well. Every screen was contested and switched. Nowhere to go with it for Robbie Rogers.
Darvin Ham checks back in. Detroit up to 30% shooting. They were hovering around 25% most of the night, which is lower than the Nets shot in game 1. They were 27% from the field. Here's Ham. With nowhere to go. Got caught in the air. Jason Kidd able to walk it up. Jefferson backtracks to three-point territory. Foul is called on Kittles. And that's their third team foul. So this is a non-shooting affair.
Remember the old Woody Hayes line about his teams? It was 3 yards in a cloud of dust. That's the way this game is going. The type of play, the pace, it's just grinded out, and possession after possession, nothing much is happening other than a foul.
If you had an isolated camera on Martin and Wallace when they are guarding each other, I mean Rasheed Wallace, there would be a foul on every play. There literally would be. I mean, these officials are trying to do a great job in their judgment of what is and what is not. But when they are head up against each other, Rasheed and Kenyon, it is brutally physical.
Down to 2.5 to play in this fourth quarter. Martin going at Ben Wallace. Rebounded by Kittles.
Great play by Kittles. And you're right, Mike, these officials, they have a difficult job. They can't call a foul every play, so they've got to try to maintain some rhythm to the game. But you're right, there is a foul happening out there every play.
Kittles from downtown. Jason Collins and Richard Hamilton having words. Double technicals have been handed out. The two players separated by the officials.
We have a double technical foul on Detroit, Richard Hamilton, and the Nets, Jason Collins.
Well, get the boxing gloves on for Tuesday night. Game 4 is going to be a war.
Well, this was intense from the start, but it really accelerated in the fourth quarter. A minute 45 to play in this fourth quarter. Van Wallace, offensive foul as he collided with Jason Collins.
Collins anticipating that the roll is going to come down the lane. There he is, got himself planted. Notice how he crossed his arms to protect his face so that a flailing arm from the offensive guy doesn't get him in the nose and the teeth. And then crosses his arms, puts him up, protects his face, takes the contact.
I don't remember the last game that I saw this many charges and guys getting in front of penetration and taking the body contact. It has been absolutely physical out here all night.
Well, back in game one, the Nets with only 56 points. That was a franchise playoff low. Detroit's franchise playoff low, 69 points. At Atlanta in May of '99, and they have 64 right here with 1:23 to go.
Larry Brown was over there talking to Mike James, saying, look, Mike, we're down X number of points, 16. Come and get the ball, double team. Let's see if we can make some things happen.
Guys, look at these numbers. The Pistons shooting 30%. They're 0 for 10 from downtown. Here's Ham getting inside. Ben Wallace could not put it down. Kept alive, though. Here's James. Rebounded by Mark. Ben Wallace in pursuit. This is out of frustration. And it's an 8, which actually turns out to be a good play because it's an 8-second backcourt violation.
Yeah, you saw Ben Wallace move his feet guarding the basketball. Last year, Detroit switched pick and rolls and let Ben Wallace guard the guard off the dribble.
Timeout with 55 seconds to play. The Nets on their way, coming up with their first victory in this series. It will be 2-1 with Game 4 on Tuesday night here in New Jersey. I mentioned that the Pistons are 0 for 10 from downtown. The NBA playoff record for three-point futility is 0 for 13. That was done twice. And they were 6 of 13 in Game 2 at the Palace on Friday night. Hardaway puts it up there for Rasheed Wallace. Zoran Planinic has checked in for the first time, as has Brandon Armstrong, who's able to knock it down. 82-64 Nets. And the Pistons may be headed to an all-time playoff low. Their low for this season during the course of the regular season was 69 points, a game against the Pacers at Indianapolis in January. So this will be a season low and an all-time playoff low for Detroit. The Nets are hearing it from this crowd. They've been filing out here in this fourth quarter. Nets have had the big lead most of the way. This is also the Pistons' worst shooting performance of the season. They are just under 29%. Planinic.
He had to take the shot, or else it would have been a 24-second violation.
The Nets 82, the Pistons 64. So the Nets bounce back after the 2 losses at the Palace of Auburn Hills, and the Nets were led by Richard Jefferson, 11 of 19, 30 points, 8 rebounds. Let's go to D with Richard.
Richard, just how did you maintain the intensity of your play at both ends of the floor? I know you had the 30 points, but your defense was equally impressive.
Well, we had a good first half last game, and I think we let up a little bit. And then once they caught fire, you know, we couldn't slow them down. So after we got that big lead in the first half, we knew it was just about keeping our focus and our mindset on what we needed to do.
So physical was this game. One, how was it to keep your head and play through that tonight, and what effect will that have on Game 4?
I don't know. There might be some things said in the paper. It was a lot of calls. You know, even though we won the game, I don't think we benefited from most of the calls. I think most of the calls were in their favor. So, you know, we did a good job on keeping our head, and you know, we'll see how Game 4 is.
Richard, thanks for your time and congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. Marv, it will be an interesting Tuesday night.
Yes, things may be on the testy side here on Tuesday night. The big bright spot for Detroit, Ben Wallace, 15 points and 24 rebounds to equal a playoff career high. So for the Czar, Mike Fratello, for Steve Kerr, for D. Lydon, this is Marv Albert saying goodnight from New Jersey. Now to Ernie in our Atlanta studio.